7th. Oh, thank you. No. Okay. The January 7th meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is now being called to order. We will all stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roberta, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now have, and my name is Nancy Healy. I'm actually the vice chairman of the Council on Aging, but our chairman decided that one of us should go to Hawaii for this day, and I said he should go. So I'm going to be running the meeting, but just for today. We will now have the roll called and taken by Francine Spriegel, who is our staff liaison, our very able staff liaison with the City of Thousand Oaks.
Well, thank you, Nancy. Please stay here or present when I call your name. Commissioner Allen. Absent. Commissioner Fotheringham is in Hawaii. Commissioner Gorbach?
Here.
Commissioner Hagee?
Here.
Commissioner Healy?
Here.
Commissioner Kopalis?
Here.
Commissioner Norkin?
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Here.
And Commissioner Shentes?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4 on your agenda is public comments. A speaker card is available for those wishing to address the Council on Aging regarding items on the agenda or on a subject regarding senior services in our city. Speakers are requested to state their name and their city of residence for the record. We have 2 people so far that have presented cards, and pursuant to City of Thousand Oaks standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow card will be raised when you have 1 minute remaining, and the red card will be raised when your 3 minutes are concluded. The first speaker's card that I got was Brenda Birdwell from the Braille Institute. Brenda is one of our long-term Council on Aging supporters, so please welcome her. Oh, it's on. No. Oh, hers. God, I'm going to Hawaii next time.
Good afternoon. Did my time already start? Because I want every second. My name is Brenda Birdwell, and I live in beautiful downtown Thousand Oaks. I'm a very proud Thousand Oaks citizen. You've seen me here before in the role of Senior Advocate at Senior Concerns, which is a role that I really treasured, and I still work very closely with the organization. But today I'm here in my current capacity from the Braille Institute. Braille Institute of Santa Barbara has offices and support all over Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo County. And in our beautiful Thousand Oaks, we have a support group every Friday morning at 10 o'clock at the Goebel Adult Community Center. It's a wonderful group of people who gets together to share information that they've learned from each other. We have guest speakers. We have classes. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we have services right here in the county, and they're all free with the exception of like sunglasses and magnifiers. We do way more than teach people Braille. A lot of newly diagnosed people don't even learn Braille because there's so much adaptive technology available, which we're happy to share with you as well. My phone number, my name again is Brenda Birdwell. My phone number is 805-886-6025, and all of the information about all of our programs is available at the Braille Institute website. That's www.brailleinstitute.org. If you or you know anyone who has low vision who could use our services, please let me know and I'll give you one of my cards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. Our next speaker is, filled out a speaker's card, is Andrea Gallagher. She's president of Senior Concerns, which probably most people are familiar with. So, Andrea, thanks.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Andrea Gallagher, and I live in Lake Sherwood, California. And I'm here today to ask a question of the audience. Don't want any answers, but I would just like a raise of hands. How many people here are caring for an aging loved one? Okay, so about a third of the room has raised their hand, maybe more than that. Some of our commissioners, as a matter of fact. We have a one-of-a-kind breakthrough event coming up. It's the day before Super Bowl. That's the easiest way to remember it. It is January 31st, and it is Caregiver Recognition Day. This is an amazing collaboration between the cities of Westlake Village, Thousand Oaks and Agora Hills, the Chamber of Commerce and Senior Concerns. It's a free event. It is not meant to educate. It is meant to provide an uplifting program and to provide respite for family caregivers for a half a day. You have to be caring for an aging loved one, but other than that, that's all we ask. It's at the Los Robles Greens, and we have all sorts of activities going on. We will have some meditation activities, an opportunity for caregivers to share with one another the story that they're going through. We will have comedian Monica Piper, who will talk about finding the funny in caregiving. We will have Dr. Terry Paulson, who will do a keynote speech on optimism in caregiving. The mayors of all 3 cities will be there that day to proclaim January 31st as Caregiver Recognition Day. We will provide a caregiver-friendly business award. One business in this community will be selected for the extra efforts they're putting forth in caring for family caregivers that are employees of theirs. We also will have an outside family intention or intention ceremony, and then from there there'll be some great goodie bags. There's a wonderful luncheon too, hot luncheon. You may wonder why we're doing this, for 2 reasons. One is family caregivers often don't self-identify. It's great that those of you that are caring for somebody raised your hand. Most of the time, folks just say, I'm a son, I'm a daughter, I'm a spouse, and they don't see themselves as a caregiver. Even if you have a loved one who lives in a residential care facility, chances are you're performing some sort of caregiving duties for them. So I encourage you to sign up. You can do so on the internet at www.seniorconcerns.org, or you can simply call Senior Concerns at 497-0189. We have space for 250 people. We have about 75 already signed up. This will go quickly. The one other thing I'd like to mention is this Thursday in your Acorn, you will find a 4-page color supplement all geared towards family caregivers with lots of amazing information and articles. So, and thanks to our partners at the Acorn who were able to help us to do that. So anyway, I encourage you all to come. There's flyers and little invitation cards here. And again, you can just call Senior Concerns, 490-497-0189. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I am a caregiver. This is the second time in my life I have been a caregiver for my spouse. It's very difficult. I am going to that event, and I'm really thrilled to go. So do yourself a favor. If you are personally one, go. You need a break. I know you need a break. So anyway, we have, it's okay. Just leave it on. Okay. We have one more speaker card, Sherry Lynn Harris.
Hi, I'm Sherry Lynn Harris, and I live in Moore Park, and I've written a book called Adapting to Alzheimer's. It's primarily for people who are caregiving their parent, and it gives lots of ideas on how to have fun with them, how to interact with them, how to deal with the challenging situations that come up. It does cover the different senior living areas that are available that we'll be talking about today. And I have bookmarks in the back here, so if anyone knows someone who is caregiving someone with Alzheimer's, this would be a very good source of information and support to them, especially when they wake up in the middle of the night and go, what am I going to do now? They have some ideas if they just go to the bookshelf and get this book. So I really appreciate it. My website is adapttoalls.com. It's the number 2, so adapttoalls.com, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry Lynn. No more speakers cards, so we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our commissioner reports. That is section 5 on your agenda. Under 5A, the first commission reports will be our Senior of the Year, which will be given by Commissioner Gorbach, who is in charge of that.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Healy. I am very happy to announce the opening of nominations now for the annual Senior of the Year Award. The Council on Aging is pleased to announce that the Senior of the Year Award will be presented at our annual ceremony and dinner dance on Thursday, June 4th, 2015. But nominations are now open on our website at www.toaks.org/seniors. Now, I chaired this subcommittee last year, and I cannot tell you how really profoundly moved I was by the people I met. These are folks in our community who do not run for office. You don't see their names on a big billboard on the corner. They're not writing letters to the editor of the newspaper. They are doing the hard, important work quietly behind the scenes for the organizations that help make this community a really terrific place for all of us to live. They are hardworking, and I'll tell you, generally they aren't real anxious about being recognized. We are imploring the organizations, businesses, and individuals in this community to go to our website and nominate them anyway. It's important. Nominate them anyway, because this will allow us in a small way to say thank you, and it's also good for your organization. It will highlight your organization because the organizations will come and support their nominee at the event in June, which is fabulous. It's a fabulous event. I was at my first one last year, and I'm so sorry I had missed the others, so you have to be there. Nominate somebody. They deserve it. This community deserves it. And the success of this really wonderful program depends on you and your organizations, businesses, individuals going to our website and filling out that nomination form. You fill it out, you email it back, and Francine will take care of the rest, okay? So we thank you very much. If you have any questions about this program, just contact us at the Council on Aging on our website. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, last year, the big news, right at the end of the year, was Sony being hacked by we don't know who. We're still guessing, I guess. And before that, now that probably didn't affect anyone, the fact that Sony was hacked. But a few months before that, earlier in the year, Target was hit, and Home Depot, and I guess we all go there. And personal information was taken. And I don't know if anyone here was affected by it. Fortunately, I guess I wasn't. Now, identity theft is probably the most fastest growing financial crime in the country. And you may ask, why is that? Well, because it's easier to do. And the people who do it hardly ever get caught. And if they do get caught, the penalties aren't all that severe. So, what should you be doing? Well, the first thing you should do is never give out any personal information. Scammers claim to be call you up and say they're from the IRS or your bank or Social Security Department and ask for some kind of information in order to verify your account. They're having a problem somehow. Well, don't tell them anything. They may ask for something as innocuous as your date of birth to verify your account. And you say, gee, what's wrong? Everybody knows my date of birth, don't they? No, that may be the only thing they don't have on you. When they get that, that'll be the missing link that gets into your account. And one of the latest ones was electric company or some other utility will call you up and say, you haven't paid your bill lately. If you don't send us a couple of $100, we're going to turn off your electricity. And that works pretty well. Never respond to those things. Call the company directly. The Social Security Department has a phone number you can call. On your utility bill, you'll find their phone number. Your bank has a phone number. I'm sure it's on your bank statement. Call them directly and verify that call is legitimate. I've actually had that happen to me, and I found out the call was not legitimate. So rule number 1 is never give out any personal information to anyone who calls you on your phone or sends you an email. Call that company directly. Now, your main identifier is your Social Security number. And I guess everyone here has a little Medicare card, and it has that number on it. And you're told to carry it, and you should carry it with you at all times. But what I do, and the reason I do it is because actually the police department, at a meeting we had here once, told us to do that. Make a copy of that card. Cross out 4 or 5 numbers on that card. Put the original in a safe place and just carry around that copy. And the first time I ever used that was when I had to go to the Los Robles Hospital. And I handed the clerk there my card with the crossed out numbers, and she said that was a very wise thing to do. Caused no trouble at all. It works every time. They don't need the card itself. So don't carry it with you. I guess this month, you're going to start getting W-2 forms, 1099 forms. All of those forms have your Social Security number on it, very promptly. Now, they'll send you 4 or 5 copies of those forms, and you don't need all those copies. Don't just throw them in the trash. Everyone should have a paper shredder, and that's where they should go. The other thing you want to check, make sure you check all of the statements that come from your bank, that come from your credit card company, and even the ones that that Medicare statement of benefits you get every 3 months. Check them out. Make sure all those things that are on there are yours, because they may not be. One thing we never check is the Medicare statement. Well, what if somebody stole your identity and had some kind of an operation using your identity? Maybe he's had his appendix removed on your account. Well, when you go to the hospital with a pain in your side, and the hospital looks at your record and says, can't be the appendix. It was taken out last year. People have died as a result of things like that. So make sure you check all those statements. Now, even if an error on your statement looks like it's nothing, like it's, why should I bother the credit card company for this 10-cent or $10 charge? It's not worth the effort. Well, what the scammers do is once they get onto your account, they'll make a small withdrawal or a small purchase. And they'll do this for 2 or 3 months at a time. And they'll say, well, they haven't been challenged yet. Obviously, this person doesn't check their statements. Now I can go for the big money. And that's what they'll do. That's the normal procedure that they do for you. So question everything on those statements. And the final thing you want to do is get your credit report. There are 3 credit reporting agencies. You're entitled to get one every year from them. And what you want to do is every 4 months you pick one of them and get it and cycle through them so that you keep current on it. And question what's on that if it doesn't seem familiar to you. And in the report, they will tell you how to question it. So I don't have to tell you all that. I think what I think I will do in one of our future meetings is tell you what to do if your identity is stolen. But at the moment, I'd like to turn it back to the chair. Nancy.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, it's so sad that people would particularly target seniors. It's just terribly bad. Anyway, the next thing that we have on our agenda, on your agenda and mine, is our liaison reports. It's item number 6. Our first liaison report is from the Caneo Senior Volunteer Program. And Commissioner O'Connor is down that way, right? Commissioner O'Donnell, would you update us on CSVP?
Thank you, Commissioner Healy. I'm very privileged to introduce the director of the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, and he's here to tell us about all the great things that are happening there. So thank you for being here, Rick.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Connor. As Commissioner mentioned, I'm Rick Tanaka. I'm the director of the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program. And I wanted to come out and personally tell you about a couple of very important, exciting things that are coming up from Conejo Senior Volunteer Program. First of all, we have, starting right up, is the free tax preparation service. As we've done year after year, that's going to be starting back up in February. This free service is for seniors age 60 years or older, or for households with an income of less than $50,000. IRS-trained volunteers will prepare your taxes for free. It's very important to note that this year, for the first time, the service is being held across the street from the Global Adult Community Center as opposed to directly at the Global Adult Community Center. It's in the Conejo Creek South Community Room, and it is... If you're unsure about where that is located, I encourage you to call our office, 805-381-2742, in order to seek clarification of where exactly it's located. We are going to put up quite a few signs in order to help get you there. Again, this is a free service. It will be taking place beginning Tuesday, February 3rd, all the way through Wednesday, April 15th. That's on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at the Conejo Creek South Community Room. It's also on Wednesdays at the Newbury Park Library. There are no appointments taken for this service. It's first come, first served. We have a very talented team of volunteers that work very hard to do this right for you, to put this all together for you. We want to thank them and encourage you to take advantage of this program. Another thing I am very excited to tell you about, if you're not already aware, the 2015 Wellness Fest is going to be taking place 2 weeks from today at the Global Adult Community Center. If you have not yet picked up your tickets, I encourage you to do so. This is a free event, but you can get in without a ticket, but you need a ticket in order to get one of the free lunches that will be provided. This event is brought to us by Los Robles Hospital and UCLA Health. There are going to be over 65 tables set up offering free health screenings, services, information, counseling, and fun. The title of this event is Wellness Fest because there is going to be entertainment as well. There's going to be a lot of information and smiles. I encourage you all to be there and be a part of this. Again, if you have any questions about this or anything else taking place with the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, I encourage you to give us a call at 805-381-2742. Thank you.
Donna, is that all you have? Or okay.
Yes, thank you, Rick. And now I turn it over back to
Okay. Thank
Nancy.
you very much, Donna. Thank you, Rick. I have worked on this, the Wellness Fest with Rick and a really able-bodied group of volunteers. We're going to have entertainment going through the whole time. We're going to have puppies from Shelter Hope. Will be walking around, so anybody who wants to see little dogs. It's a free lunch. I mean, there really is a free lunch at this. So please join us. Get your tickets at Global, as Rick said, and we expect to have a very good turnout. And thank you, Rick. Is supporting an extremely important program for seniors in this community. Our next thing is Patty is going to talk to us about one of our liaison agencies that we work with a lot on what's happening at the Global Adult Center right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Healy. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you for letting me be here today. There is a lot of fabulous new additions and programs that are happening this month at the Global Adult Community Center. The Global Senior Center Commission is funding the installation of a new sound system in our main hall and a new intercom system that's going to be throughout the whole facility, and we're excited about that. Next week, our main hall, where we have our beautiful wood floors, is going to be down for refurbishment, but all other programs that take part in the center throughout the other parts of the facility will be business as usual. And we are excited about hosting the Wellness Fest that Rick just spoke about on January 21st. From 9 to 1, and really encourage everyone to stop by the front desk and pick up a ticket for free lunch. It's going to be delicious. And we only have 300 of those available, and they're going fast. A couple of free workshops this month that I'd like to tell you about. We have a reflexology workshop that is taking place on January 22nd, and it's from 11 to 12:30. One of our very own seniors that comes to the Global Center every week, Crystal Waters, is going to share her life experience, education, and knowledge of how reflexology has been a positive addition for her in order for her to take care of herself and to have better health. That workshop, you can sign up at the front desk. It does take reservations, and you can call 381-2744 if you want to do it by phone. The other program I'd like to mention is the Sidewalk CPR. Thursday, January 29th from 10 to 11. And Los Robles Hospital, in conjunction with AMR Ambulance and Ventura County Fire Department, are going to instruct sidewalk CPR, which is also known as compression-only CPR. And one statistic that stuck in my head was in Ventura County. In Ventura County, 60% of witnessed cardiac arrests who receive bystander CPR go home to their families. So that's a very important statistic and very impressive. And all it takes is for you bystanders and witnesses to come to this class just to get a little knowledge of how you can help someone if you witness someone in public or even a family member, a loved one who suffers from cardiac arrest, how you can help them so that they can get to the professionals who can then take over from there. And again, January 29th, it's only 1 hour. It's free, and you can stop by the front desk and sign up or call 381-2744. And that is it.
Patty, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, our next thing on our agenda, and we're moving right along, is Commissioner comments. It's item 7 on your agenda. So here is the portion of our meeting where the commissioners... Yes. You do? Oh, I've got... Oh, okay. Yes, thank you. This is my script. Okay, let's do guest speakers instead. It'll probably be a lot more interesting than comments from us anyway. So, okay. It's true though, right? Okay. This is the time of our meeting that we have our guest speaker presentation. As a reminder, questions will not be taken during this portion of the meeting. This is not a public forum, but an informational presentation only. If you have questions for either speaker, please hold them until the end, and the speakers will stay for a little while to answer them. At this time, I would like to ask Commissioner Correct to introduce them. Yes, I said.
Take a deep breath.
Roberta, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Today our program will focus on issues relating to when living alone is not an option and issues to consider when selecting an assisted living facility. Individuals often may experience confusion and stress when making life-altering decisions about giving up their homes and their independence, and possibly become entangled in financial and legal dilemmas due to the misunderstanding of facilities and their contracts. With us this afternoon is Kathy Terry. She is the Field Service Coordinator for the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Services of Ventura County. Kathy earned an interdisciplinary degree with an emphasis in gerontology at Cal State University at Northridge and has over 13 years' experience in the field. Also with us from the District Attorney's Office in Ventura, we have Deputy District Attorney Mitch Disney, who is assigned to the Consumer and Environmental Protection Task Force. Mr. Disney is a graduate of the Pepperdine University School of Law. He has served on numerous boards and commissions And in 2002, he was recognized as Prosecutor of the Year by the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators, and has been recognized 3 times as Outstanding Prosecutor of the Year by Ventura County District Attorney's Office. Kathy and Mitch, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Kathy. Without further ado, you guys got me all relaxed. I was all stressed out. Now I'm all relaxed. They have a very soothing tone in here. I am with the Long-Term Care Ombudsman. In order to be a volunteer with the Long-Term Care Ombudsman, you have to learn how to say that word. Ombudsman's pretty tricky. It's a Swedish word, and it means citizen advocate. And the Ombudsman Program was designed to protect seniors and dependent adults who find that they're needing to live out their lives or do rehab in long-term care facilities for the elderly. And our role is federally mandated and state certified to go into all the long-term care facilities throughout Ventura County. The Ombudsman Program is a national program. There's an Ombudsman Program in every county of every state in the United States. And we have federal authority through the Older Americans Act to go into facilities and advocate for the seniors and dependent adults there, and to ensure that their lives are free from abuses and indignities of all kinds, and to ensure that they are treated with the respect that they deserve as express wish advocates. And I always like to give an explanation for what an express wish advocate is. There are 2 types of advocates that we deal with. One is called a best interest advocate, and the other is an express wish advocate. A best interest advocate are those wonderful individuals in our society and in our lives who are making decisions that are designed to optimally enhance our quality of life, how we live our lives, healthcare decisions, behavioral and sociological decisions. Your parents were best interest advocates, hopefully. As we age, sometimes our children become our best interest advocates. The Surgeon General is a really good example of a best interest advocate. When I was a teenager, and he put that little sign on the side of cigarettes that they may cause cancer. It's a perfect example of best interest advocacy. And that's wonderful, and we need them. It's our doctors, it's our nurses, it's our representatives. But there's another type of an advocate, and that's called an express wish advocate. And we tend to be our own best interest or express wish advocate in our lives until something happens and we find ourselves in an environment where we are surrounded by best interest advocates. The Ombudsman Program is run by express wish advocates. And what that means is when we go into a facility, we remind the workers in those facilities, and we remind our residents' family members, and we remind our residents that they still have the right to make decisions that reflect their wishes. They don't just have to operate their lives now on a set of institutional rules. They don't have to do what they're told, when they're told, and how they're told to do things. They actually can continue to make decisions about their lives. Those decisions are everything from if I want to take a shower today, if I want to take my medications, if I want to attend activities, if I want to, it's an example that people are typically horrified best interest advocates. If I want sugar in my ice cream and I have a diagnosis of diabetes, I can do that. When you think about it, we all, I would presume, do things in our private lives that we wouldn't want our best interest advocate to see us doing. Maybe we don't exercise 7 days a week, which is what you really should do. Not 20 minutes 3 or 4 times a week. There might be people in here who smoke occasionally. I don't know. Or overindulge in sugar or cholesterol-laden items. And that's something that you can do because you don't have somebody watching over your shoulder all the time. And sometimes those are the little pleasures that get us through a tough situation. And we just want to make it really clear. I've had children on the phone, and when I say children, I'm talking about people in their 60s and 70s often, children on the phone just horrified with something that Dad, who's 95, wants. And I will say, one thing to keep in mind is your dad has as much right to make the wrong decision as you do. And often that is a real paradigm shift, and it's so gratifying when they go, oh, I never even thought of that. I love it when they embrace it rather than fight it. So the Ombudsman Program is run by a wonderful core of volunteers, Express Wish volunteers, and that's part of the fun of our job, is sometimes putting aside our own biases and our own wishes for the quality of life for our seniors and embracing what it is that they want for themselves. Now, I want to reassure you, we are not willy-nilly running into facilities saying, sugar for everybody, cigarettes for everybody. We encourage education, and we encourage people to bathe regularly, and we encourage them to take those medications that they need to keep themselves from suffering. But we also just want to make sure that they feel that they have a strong role in making those decisions and that they are not infantilized. Society has... there's some terminology that we're always watching out for on a dignity level in the Ombudsman Program. We don't like to hear the words diapers. We don't like to hear the words bibs. We are always looking for ways to enhance the dignity of our seniors who find themselves in facilities. The Ombudsman Program came about as a result of some pretty horrendous situations that occurred in facilities in the early 70s, I believe it was. I want to make sure I've got, in the early 70s. In the early 70s, a lot of these facilities had cropped up because people saw there was a way to make money. I could care for seniors and I can make money doing it. And that's great if you've got somebody who's got the heart and the spirit and a passion for this type of service. But there were some opportunists who saw a quick buck and opened some facilities and did not keep in mind what the optimal quality of life for seniors would be under their care. As a result, there was a facility in February of 1970 in Marietta, Ohio, where substandard carpeting caught on fire, and half of the residents perished as a result of that fire. There was another facility in Baltimore where 25 residents passed away as a result of salmonella poisoning. And when the media got involved and was talking to the owner about how he could let this happen, the owner was furious with the media and said, I don't know why you're making this such a big deal. And that was the attitude. Another case during Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, there was a facility where, as the hurricane was coming, a decision was made to leave the residents there, and a lot of the staff abandoned the residents in that facility, and they perished in Hurricane Katrina. That's not all that long ago. Recently, we had a situation at a facility called in Castro Valley that many of you may have read about in the media, and you can always look it up. There was a couple of facilities owned by this owner who decided they didn't want to deal with it anymore, and they walked away. And they left the residents behind. And the staff wasn't getting paid, so they walked away and left the residents behind. And two young men, someone who worked in the kitchen and a housekeeper, stayed with those residents. And they were calling licensing, and nothing was happening. And they took care of those residents for a few days, but they were the housekeeper and somebody in the kitchen. They were not frontline care providers. And when they saw that nobody was going to come and save these residents, they just started pushing 911, pushing 911, pushing 911. And they just kept coming in ambulances and taking them away. And the families were not notified, and it was a horrendous situation. The good thing that came out of that is recent regulation through an RCFE, Residential Care Facility for the Elderly legislation that just came down that is strengthening the regulations in assisted living facilities. There are two types of facilities that we advocate for as ombudsmen in our county. There's skilled nursing facilities and there are assisted living facilities, and I want to clarify the difference. Skilled nursing facilities are medical care facilities. That is where you need to be if you need 24-hour medical assistance. You need the care being provided to you to be being provided by certified nursing assistants, LVNs, registered nurses, and doctors. And the other type of facility, we call them residential care facilities for the elderly. We also call them assisted living. Now, when you get really knowledgeable, you call them SNFs and AL, or RCFEs. We go into both types of facilities. And as I said, we have the federal mandate to go into these facilities, and we are also state certified. The federal government, when they implemented the Ombudsman Program throughout the country, thought it'd be wonderful to get it to be run by volunteers. It's a lot cheaper. Volunteers have the heart for it, too. And so they funded our program on the federal level to go into all skilled nursing facilities annually, once a year. That's the funding we got from the federal government. Well, that isn't really going to take good care of people who are in skilled nursing facilities. In our county, when the program was implemented by these two wonderful little Jewish ladies, they said the Ombudsman Program in Ventura County is going to go into skilled nursing facilities once a week, unannounced and unscheduled, and we'll find the funding for that. And we will go into assisted living facilities, which we get no federal money for, once a month, unannounced, unscheduled. And that's what we do. There are two licensing agencies that oversee these two different types of facilities. The California Department of Public Health, they go in, they are the regulatory licensing agency for skilled nursing facilities. They do an annual survey. So they go in once a year, unannounced, unscheduled, and they go in for complaints. Community care licensing, it's the Department of Social Services licensing and certification, goes into assisted living, and their mandate is to go in once every 5 years. A lot of people die in 1 year, and a lot of people die in 5 years. And a lot of issues are allowed to become very magnified in that period of time. And through our ombudsman volunteers going into skilled nursing facilities weekly, we're able to nip things in the bud. We're able to notice changes in residents that are concerning, that we can bring to the attention of the facility or their loved ones or whoever we need to before they become worse. We can notice if an assisted living facility is not meeting the needs and the rights of residents before it gets worse. And as a result of the relationship that we have developed with most of the facilities in our county, I would say that most of the residents in long-term care facilities for the elderly in Ventura County have it pretty good compared to other counties that I talk to when I go to state meetings with the other counties. They are shocked by the working relationship we've been able to develop with a lot of our facilities. We have our challenging facilities, especially the ones that will come in from the outside and they're not used to the type of program we've developed here. We also in Ventura County have the advantage of having developed good working relationships with a number of other agencies where we can all work together to improve the quality of life of the seniors in our facilities. I participate in two interdisciplinary teams. One is called FAST. That's the Financial Abuse Specialist Team. We meet monthly. On the team is Adult Protective Services, the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, the District Attorney's Office, and banking entities, IRS. They're there too, and we're nice to them. The insurance advocacy organizations. And we get together and we discuss cases. People bring cases to our attention and we all brainstorm how to best meet the needs of the victims of these financial crimes. I also belong to a team called Rapid Response Expert Team. We meet twice a month. It is facilitated by Adult Protective Services, and we discuss cases of seniors who are in facilities or outside facilities to determine how we can work together to improve their quality of life and ensure that they're not abused. And it is through these programs that we are able to find resources and point our seniors and those that love them in the right direction. Let's see. I know you wanted to know a little bit about assisted living, and I want to let you know residents who go into assisted living have a lot of rights. And as Ombudsman, we're always looking to ensure that those rights are respected. And I brought a copy of them with me, but I also want to let you know that as a result of those visits, weekly and monthly into facilities, we understand facilities and we understand what's going on and we understand other resources. You are always able to call our office and ask us questions about those rights or about resources that may be available to you. We might direct you to call the Goebel Center, for instance. They've spoken today. They have HICAP that meets there periodically. They have grade law. They have other agencies that meet there. So we will direct callers. We do what's called pre-placement counseling, where we will direct people to other resources. And that brings me to pre-placement counseling, which is a resource that we offer. Since we go into the facilities on a weekly and a monthly basis, we know what's going on in all of the facilities in Ventura County. We know what licensing is investigating in all the facilities in Ventura County. Sometimes we play a role in bringing issues to the attention of licensing so that they will investigate it. We keep all of the licensing reports and surveys in our records, but we can also reinforce for you that if you go into any long-term care facility for the elderly and you want to know what licensing has said on their last visits, or at least within the last year, they need to keep in assisted living, in the regulations, it says conspicuously posted their last year's visits or their last visit from community care licensing. Now, if the facility has been in really good standing and haven't had any complaints filed against them, the last visit you may see from community care licensing might be about 5 years old. And that could be good, or it could mean they flew under the radar. Now, since we're going in there every month, we're kind of hoping that somebody is not flying under the radar for 5 years. Skilled nursing facilities, additionally, have to have their licensing visits available to the public. And when I've gone into skilled nursing facilities, there's usually a little box or something that you can pull it out of. Always feel free to read those. I think that one of the dilemmas for folks is they are afraid of being perceived as making trouble, looking for trouble. And so they're afraid to ask for these things or ask to look at these things. That is our number one fear of our residents, is fear of retaliation. And I have to tell you, the retaliation that our residents and their family members are afraid of isn't afraid that somebody's going to haul off and sock them, that somebody's going to physically assault them because they're upset. The retaliation is subtle. The retaliation is that when I push that call light button because I need somebody to help me go to the bathroom, they won't come. Or they'll take their time. Or they're afraid that they won't get that nice smile. Do you know 60% of our seniors living in skilled facilities have no one? No one visiting them at all. That means that their whole their family is that facility staff. And if you are dependent on that facility staff for every positive interaction you have, or every trip to the bathroom, or every request for a snack, or pain management, and they're the only person you can count on, it's kind of hard to speak up sometimes. You swallow a lot. As Ombudsman, just to let you know and to reassure you, we can't do anything without consent. There's this little clarification about mandated reporting, and sometimes people have a little challenge with it. All of the staff working in facilities, anybody who has made it a decision to work with the elderly or any type of vulnerable population, they become what's called mandated reporters. And that means that by law, if they witness or suspect that any type of abuse has occurred, they are required by law to report it. There are fines associated with that. The Ombudsman Program, with the Ombudsman, we are mandated reporters if we witness something, but we are not mandated reporters if a resident shares something with us. And some people are kind of shocked by that, but the reason is it's much like a priest. The residents are so vulnerable and so afraid that if they speak up, that there will be retaliation, that they won't tell anybody. But once they've developed confidence with their ombudsman that we can't tell anything without their permission, that allows them to feel safe to tell us. When that resident showers me, I don't like where he puts his hands. Or when she helps change my Depends, she jerks me around. She was really mad and she jerked me around. Or when I ask her my pain medication, they just laugh at me and say, oh, you're just asking for drugs. You don't need anything. You just deal with it. Once they realize that we're not going to run off to the management and get them in trouble, that we will try to solve things in a way that's going to minimize any distress they might experience, then they feel safe allowing us to help them. We have a really good example of an ombudsman who worked to build trust. And actually, she's in this room with a resident.
If you're talking without a microphone.
Nancy Healy.
Yes, I am a volunteer ombudsman.
Is an ombudsman and has been for a really 6 years. And when Nancy was a new ombudsman and she got her assignment, some little board and cares, and there was one that she went into, and one of the first ladies she met said, I want to go home. I want to go home. And Nancy thought, awesome, I've got somebody to help. So Nancy said to her, can I help you? And she said, no, it's okay. And wouldn't let her do anything. So for months, Nancy would go in that facility every month and hear, I want to go home, and be told no. But then after she developed trust for Nancy, and Nancy reassured her enough, one day she let Nancy help her. And she gave Nancy permission to call her daughters and beyond that. And guess what? She went home. It turned out she had the resources to be living at home. She had a beautiful home. She could afford home health care. She didn't need anybody to take care of her. She could afford to pay for it herself. And that's one of those wonderful little, and I know Nancy will carry that one in her heart forever, but we all carry that one in our heart. So there are little wonderful blessings like that. And then there's some major ones. We have another case where there was a gentleman who had a health crisis back in Ohio, and his daughter brought him out here. He had an adverse reaction to some medications. And as you know, with the elderly, some medications can impact the elderly different, can cause a temporary type of delirium, which can look a lot like dementia. And once somebody starts medicating you for that, giving other medications, it can cause other problems. And he got out here, and his daughter proceeded to sell his home and all of his possessions and get him drugged and in a facility. But apparently he was palming some of those drugs, and so he was starting to get clearer and clearer. And the ombudsman was thinking, why is he here in this dementia unit? Because she could see this clarity in him. And he wanted help. And it took quite a while. And it took a fight with the daughter and threats against the Ombudsman Program. But he went home. He got flown back to Ohio, he got his savings back. She had spent a lot of his money, got his savings back. An ombudsman escorted him back to Ohio to his girlfriend, and he was back on the golf course and clear until the day he died. And he lived on for a few more years happily, and his daughter was furious. But he went home. So there are cases, there are wonderful, blessed cases, and there are just little cases every day where somebody just, they just get their dignity back. Another little case that we had that shows what the Ombudsman can do once you know about us. And just to let you know, there are these big, ugly posters in every long-term care facility for the elderly, actually in the country, but they're bigger and uglier in California because I went to Arizona and they're about this big. But in California, big posters that have our phone number on them that invite you to call. I was going to tell you a story. We had, I was fairly new with the program, and we had a case where a daughter called us, and she said her mom had had some hip surgery. Her mom was living independently, was going to be living independently again, had some hip surgery, just needed to go in for rehab, maybe for a couple of weeks, into a skilled nursing facility, and then she was going to go home. The mom was continent and everything. She was all of us. She got in the facility, and because of the hip surgery, she was going to need help getting into the bathroom. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, she pushed her call light button and said, "Can somebody take me to the bath? I need help going to the bathroom. I got to go." She pushed the light. Somebody stuck their head in the door, and they asked her what she needed, and she said, "I need to go to the bathroom." And they said, "We're short-staffed. You need to wait." So she waited. She gave him about a half hour. She pushed that call light button again. Person came back and said, "We're short-staffed tonight. You're wearing a Depends. Just use it." Now, let me tell you, they shouldn't put you in a Depends just because you go into a facility. And that will happen because it's easier to clean you up, apparently, than to have the staffing to take you to the bathroom. It's a really common thing to do. Well, she still tried not to, just like you would, because she hadn't had an accident since she was probably 18 months old. And a couple hours later, she couldn't hold it any longer, and nobody would help her. And it makes me tear up when I think about it. She called her daughter sobbing because she had just had her first little indignity that can lead to a UTI, that can lead to so many other things, including incontinence. And of course, we got involved. But that's one of those things that happens all the time, that fly under radars. People go into facilities, they're not supposed to lose abilities unnecessarily. You're not supposed to go into a facility continent and become incontinent. But it's not unusual. I've had kids, again, in their 60s and 70s, a few in their 50s, who will call and, talk about how now Dad's wearing Depends, and I'll say, "Why?" And they'll say, it's easier for the facility, and I'll say, if I were you, I would go back to that facility and I would tell them to take that Depends off of him right now, because it's only going to lead down a bad road. So those are little things that the Ombudsman Program helps with as well. You're going to be taught, one of the things that, a big issue that comes to our attention is paying for long-term care. So let's address it. It's one of the biggest calls we get. We get calls every day from people who call and they can no longer care for mom or dad. Their needs have gotten too great. So they want to know, what are their options? And so we talk about what their needs are. And most of the time, if it's somebody who's being cared for at home, up until then, their needs are assisted living. They don't need skilled yet. And then the axe falls that mom has no money. And all mom has gets $930 a month, SSI. So where can mom go? The fact of the matter is we have no SSI facilities in Ventura County. So we have no low-income assisted living facilities in Ventura County. And we need them. We need them very badly. That mom needs to stay near her daughter or her son, because that's how she's going to get the best care in a facility, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I think most of you know that analogy. If I said that to a room of 20 or 30-year-olds, they wouldn't know what I was talking about. I love throwing out analogies, and they look at you like, what? What does that mean? You grease stuff? There's no low-income assisted living in Ventura County. So what the kids will then think is their next option is to get mom into a skilled nursing facility because Medi-Cal will pay for skilled. The problem is if you take someone who doesn't need a skilled nursing facility and you put them in a skilled nursing facility, they're going to need a skilled nursing facility before long, and that's not a good thing. That means that they have declined. So one of the things we need to work on is getting more assisted living, low-income facilities in our county. Assisted living in our county is paid for private pay or long-term care insurance. If you are one of the blessed few that have the long-term care insurance to pay for it. Long-term assisted living in a little board and care is probably, if you're lucky, you might find something in the mid 2000s, and I'm not on top of that. You might find something for $2,500 a month on up to share a room in a little 6-bed board and care. If you're going into a larger assisted living, you're probably going to pay more than that because you'll probably have a private room plus care. So you're talking anywhere from $2,500 on up to maybe $9,000, depending on somebody's level of care. That's not good news at all. There's a program called Aid in Attendance, which can help with some assisted living cost. It's not going to pay for all of it, but that is if you are a retired, a veteran who served during wartime, or the spouse of a veteran who served during wartime that you didn't divorce, have to have been married to them when they passed. It takes a while to get. It's a challenge, but that money is available. So that's how you pay for assisted living in our county. And as an ombudsman, it distresses us to no end when we see alert-oriented residents walking healthfully around skilled nursing facilities. Our skilled facilities in our county, there's only 2 in our county that do not accept Medi-Cal, and that is University Village, Oakview at University Village, and Emeritus down in Camarillo. All the other skilled facilities in our county do accept Medi-Cal if you are low income, if you qualify for Medi-Cal. Other than that, I'm not sure what people pay for. I think it's about $6,000 a month. As ombudsman, we don't get into that unless it's a problem. So that's the bad news. There are programs once you're in a skilled facility. If you've been in a skilled facility for 3 months or more, qualified for Medi-Cal, and it's determined that you don't need to be in a skilled facility, there's a program. Money follows the person is what we always call it, but it's a Medi-Cal program, and there are agencies that will work to help you find a lesser level of care, maybe an assisted living facility, and other programs to help you with your quality of life. A lot of people are ending up in LA County again. Another big dilemma that I see to be a problem for the future, and it's something we really are going to have to keep an eye on, is we have no facilities for the mentally ill. And so what we are finding is an ombudsman program, especially I'm hearing more of it in West County. I'm not sure if it's happening in East County as much. Hearing a lot of it in Oxnard because they seem to take some pretty hard cases. A lot of mental health clients are being placed in the skilled facilities because there's no other place for them. And people who don't know what they're doing think that dementia and mental illness are similar. The staff is being trained to deal with illness and dementia. They are not trained to deal with mental illness. And when you consider that you've got a senior, maybe with some level of dementia, who's in distress and anxious, and the person sharing their room has schizophrenia and is angry and paranoid, it's not an elegant fit. So it is one of our big dilemmas. They're going to have to find an answer because as an ombudsman program, we can't tolerate this. Our volunteers, we don't train our volunteers to deal with mental illness, and they're having to do that. And so that is a big challenge that we're facing as well. So as a program, I just wanted to just give you some statistics about what we have accomplished as a program in Ventura County, and then I'm going to turn the time over to Mitch. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions afterwards. And you can always call the office, and I have business cards. I have brochures. We're always looking for more volunteers. We have about 60 wonderful volunteers. And I'll tell you, our volunteers go all the way up to about 85. And our 85-year-old volunteer is doing a great job. Can't give her name. Everybody might know who she is, but I'll tell you, she doesn't look a day over 70. You know, volunteer work has been known to enhance health. People live longer, especially if you are a volunteer in facilities, because you're staying out. You can do whatever you can not to end up. And I'll have to tell you, the worst nightmare for the facilities, and it has happened on my watch, is when an ombudsman has to come in and do rehab. Yeah. Facilities are not really thrilled when there's an ombudsman doing rehab there, because they're not afraid of retaliation, and they will report. But just to let you know, our ombudsman in 2013-2014 did 1,290 visits to skilled facilities in Ventura County, 3,000 visits to boarding cares in Ventura County. Thousand Oaks has 65 assisted living facilities, in case you didn't know that. You might know about the big ones, but do you know about all those little ones nestled into neighborhoods? We've got quite a few, and 4 skilled nursing facilities in Thousand Oaks that we visit. We investigated 846 complaints in Ventura County during that time frame, and those complaints were anything from food issues to pain management issues, to call light response time, financial abuse issues, but I have to tell you that most financial abuse issues do not come from the facilities, because we don't only investigate facilities. We have family members and people who are responsible for finances who are not always making good decisions. We have kids who are responsible for paying mom's share of cost at a Medi-Cal facility and think that they need to keep that money to maintain mom's house that she's never coming back to, but that they're living in, and that's a whole nother thing. Our volunteers drove almost 50,000 miles last year and attended 328 resident councils. And I want to tell you, a resident council is a wonderful way for the residents to be empowered and enhance their quality of life in a facility. And we have some amazing resident councils in Thousand Oaks. I worked in assisted living facilities, so I know both sides. I worked at Grand Oaks. They have always had an amazing resident council at Thousand Oaks, at Grand Oaks. They run the whole thing. They're strong, and they advocate for themselves, and that's where you need to empower. Don't disempower, empower. A place where we need more are family councils. We attended 24 family councils. But a family council is a wonderful thing. If you have a loved one in a facility and you're not sure if they're getting the type of care, or you think that their type of care could be better, form a family council. The facility is required by regulation to allow you to form a family council, provide you a place for it, provide you time for it, and advertise it. So family councils are wonderful, and resident councils are wonderful. And it is a way to implement change. There are actually regulations about how quickly the facility is required by regulation to respond to any inquiries by the resident or family council. They have power. We also go out and educate facilities. I go out and I do 3 types of in-services for staff. I in-service them on elder abuse. I in-service them on privacy, dignity, and confidentiality, and I in-service them on resident rights. And so we are working to always keep them, the staff educated. There's a really good book, although you have to like to read things that are research-oriented, called The Loss of Autonomy in a Long-Term Care Setting, that shows a study that was done, and the researchers went in and observed a multi-level facility a CCRC, which is University Village, and a continuing care residential care facility. And that means they have everything from independent, assisted, dementia, and skilled on one site, and it can or cannot have issues. And what they determined was that the further away the staff got from actual working with the resident, the more they understood and grasped resident rights. The closer they got to the hands-on care of the resident, the less they understood resident rights, because they were so maybe short-staffed, tired. You know, some of them work in 2 different facilities, that they kind of lose sight. That's not high on their, they have 3 showers to get done by noon, and this many med passes, and these many depend issues they have to deal with. So the closer they get to care, the less they will focus on resident rights. And that is so sad, because they're the ones who really need to get it. So if you have any questions, I will hang around afterwards. I do want to let you know we always love getting more ombudsmen. We have the best ombudsman. One of them's been with us for 26 years, so apparently you can't get away once we get you. Most of us who work there say we'll be an ombudsman, a free one. There are only 4 paid staff. One of us in the office said she'd work for free once, and we keep holding that over her head because she has not donated her check back to the program. But we could always use great volunteers, and I'll tell you, it's meaningful work. Okay.
Before Mitch starts with his part, I have been, Pat Chiano's in the audience, is another local volunteer ombudsman. It is the best volunteer job you could ever have. I mean, I have a puppy that just loves me to death, and when I come home, he's excited to see me, but nobody else is so excited and I've had the same facilities for 6 years. I know these people. They know me. They're not afraid to tell me. And if you have a friend or a neighbor or a relative, go visit them. It's really important that the staff knows that somebody is going to be watching out for them. And the loss of dignity is that one last thing you can take away from somebody, and no one should be allowed to do that. So it's the greatest volunteer job. If you have a mind to do something like that and you have the guts to speak up and go, let me tell you, this is not right. Just talk to Kathy. It's the best program ever. So thank you. And go ahead. You want to introduce Mitch?
Oh, really quickly, I've been told to give you my contact information. Oh. That means you're going to call me, huh? Yes. All right. Okay. I'm Kathy Terry, Field Services Coordinator. I think that's probably on your agenda. The Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, our phone number is 805-656-1986. We also have a website I encourage you to go to that talks about some of the issues, resident rights. It also talks about our big push to fight the inappropriate use of antipsychotics on seniors with dementia. And I'm stressing inappropriate. When antipsychotics are given to a senior without a real diagnosis of mental illness, of psychoses, it can often have deleterious effects leading to death. And so if you want to see any of that information, go to www.ombudsmanventura.org. And again, I have cards at the end, and that information's on there as well. So 805-656-1986, extension 101. Oh, now you're going to get right to me. Yes. That's great.
Kathy, thank you. Mitch, we'll talk about a little bit. He's from our own county district attorney's office. He will talk more about the legal issues and and just being aware of what you're getting into and what you're signing. So thank you again very much for coming.
Glad to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. I have a PowerPoint. My slides are over there. I'm over here. Sorry about that. I think if I walk over there, you won't be able to hear me, or they won't be able to hear me at home, so I'm going to stay here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm from the DA's office. I'm in the Consumer and Environmental Protection Division. I'm not in the Elder Abuse Division. We do have that. I take my cases involve violations of the false advertising and unfair business practices statutes against anybody, including elders or seniors. So when that comes in front of me, I look at it. And we have had, it's not like I have a huge stack of them, but I have had a case come before me or two involving these, I want to get it right, the ALFs, the assisted living facilities. And I want to ask you, by a show of hands in the audience, how many of you have bought or sold a home? Okay. And of you who raised your hand, how many of you used a real estate agent? Okay, that's like almost everybody. Okay, I'm holding up the California Association of Realtors Standard Residential Real Estate Purchase Agreement. It's probably the one that you all used when you bought or sold your house. It's 10 pages long. And when you did that, you had a real estate agent walk you through it and probably said, what this means is this. And you said, oh, okay, good. And that real estate agent was acting on your behalf as your agent. Typically, it's one, you have a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. Without naming any names, I'm holding up a residential or a assisted living facility contract from a facility in Ventura County. It's 60 pages long. And there's nothing illegal about that. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is very, very complicated. And part of the reason why it's complicated is these contracts are designed to cover multiple areas, not just a lease of property, which it includes a lease of property. It also may include a level of nursing or health care. It might include meals. It might include visits to the beautician, rides to the market. All these things are spelled out in here, and it also anticipates changes in your life situation and how the contract might change and how the price might change as your situation changes. So attorneys have to come up with language that covers all these anticipated future events. And that means lots of words and lots of contingencies and complicated contracts. So when I look at one of these, I go, wow, why would anybody ever do this without having somebody to advocate for them? And I'm going to get to that at the end, and you know where I'm going with that because I'm a lawyer, and I'm going to recommend that you all, if you're going to get into, if you have the funds or if you have the need to get into a contract for this sort of thing, that you get somebody in your corner just like you would with a real estate agent. You know, a real estate agent takes, between the two of them, they take about 5%. No offense to real estate agents, but that's a lot of money. The amount you would pay for an attorney is probably less than that. To look through an agreement and say, walk you through it and say, this is what this means. This is what you're getting yourself into. So now, how many of you used Yelp or any other types of web-based consumer information sites? I do. Do you believe everything they say? No. But when you read through situations that people have had, it gives you an idea of what you might expect, and when you're forewarned, there's a forearmed, right? You all know that one. So I'm just, on my slide, which is over there, I have an example from an anonymous facility in Ventura County where somebody wrote a review and it said, it all looks good and on a good day everything goes well and is worth the very high cost. Unfortunately, most days for residents of this program, they're frustrating and anything but what the brochures and advertising promise. And then it goes on, blah, 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 to give you some specific examples. Now, if you were potentially going to enter into an agreement to put a loved one or yourself into one of these facilities, if you're going to do this before you buy a stereo, wouldn't you want to have that information before you entered into, a 60-page contract, or hopefully shorter? That's just one facility. So do your research just like you would before you buy electronics on Amazon. Another website is this caring.com. And they have some checklists on there. And the website is long as is typical. But if you remember caring.com, one of the tabs there is for assisted living facilities. And I printed it out. And it's this really cool checklist for things to ask for or ask about. Like get a copy of the draft of the contract, the Bill of Rights, which is something that every facility has to have by statute and regulation under California, a list of the weekly events, under what circumstances might costs go up. You can ask these questions, and maybe you'll get some answers. I'm sure that they're going to answer your questions, but at least you're showing yourself to be informed and you're getting information up front. Of course, the written contract is what's going to bind. That's what's going to hold. But this is a good checklist of questions to ask. Other internet research that you can do is this. This is the regulating agency for assisted living facilities. It's the Community Care Licensing Division. Do I get that right? And by the way, I'm so honored to be up here with Kathy, who is unbelievably knowledgeable and is somebody that I'm just so happy exists. I'm so happy the Ombudsman Program exists and that she's there and all of her volunteers. Thank you for all that you do. So this website, I don't have a live link to it, but I have some slides that sort of walk through what you would see. And just to give you an example of what's available on the web at this ccld.ca.gov. If you were interested in an independent facility, you can do this search where you go in and they have, under elderly assisted living, you could click on Ventura County. And then it'll show you everything alphabetically, or you can then enter the name of the facility that you're interested in. So I clicked and I just put Ventura County. And I couldn't believe how many there were. How many were there?
234.
234 assisted living facilities just in Ventura County. So, not picking on anybody, but this is the first page, and it's alphabetically listed. The first one, I don't know anything about it, Bradley House on Apricot Road. So, if you click on View, I don't know, you probably can't see that very well, can you? Anyway, it looks kind of like that. But the top one, the far right column, it says View, and when you're looking on your computer screen, it's not that bad. Then it opens up this other tab, and it tells you where it's located. It's on Apricot Road in Simi Valley. And then you see on the bottom those bright yellow tabs. There's one that says Complaints. So if you click on that, wow, there's this information that's publicly available. It tells you how many complaints and when they were done and whether citations were issued. Now, this is the public agency that inspects these on a very rare basis. I think, how often is it?
If in good standing, in good standing every 5 years.
Okay. So this particular facility, I already forgot the name of it, but they had 4 Type A citations. Now, that is something that may be of concern to you that you'd want to ask them about when you're looking into whether you want to enter an agreement with this facility for a loved one or yourself. And they have to give you those. Now, I'm told by the expert to my left that these citations are actually going to be made available through links on this website. And it actually says at the very top, which you can't read, it says, note, this feature is undergoing enhancement to provide more specific data about complaints. And so that's going to be available, the actual complaint information. That's very handy. You can also ask the facility for that information. But on the other hand, you're probably, if you're looking at one of these facilities, in a time where the circumstances are pushing you to look for one. So there's this tension because somebody they're probably moving out, or they've had an illness or an injury, and you're probably thinking, you're probably in a situation where you need to get them into a facility pretty soon. So there's this urgency. And whenever there's urgency, there's vulnerability for the person who might be entering into that contract. Now, I see all kinds of scams and scam artists, and some scam artists will walk into your house, go door to door, and create urgency. They will tell you, your drinking water is really bad, but I've got the solution with this $5,000 water treatment device. They've created the urgency. But your urgency, the urgency in entering into these agreements, might be a real urgency, coupled with a possibility of a hard sell. It is possible that there is hard sell involved in some of these contracts. We've received complaints like that. It's not illegal for a sales rep to take advantage of urgency or to conduct a hard sell. It's illegal when they tell you lies. But if they tell you lies verbally and the contract is all good and every term in the contract is just as it should be and complies with what the regulations require, what they said as a lie verbally is going to be your word against their word. And that makes it a tough case because it's probably not going to come up until 2 years later when you move out and they say, we're going to withhold $100,000 of your deposit because whatever, you're behind on your payments or whatever the reason is, and there's a dispute, and you say, but they told me they wouldn't. Well, that's probably not going to be provable in a case that I want to bring on your behalf because it's going to be your word against the sales rep, and the sales rep's going to say, I never said that. The contract is what holds. So the contract is very, very important. But what does that thing even mean? That's Jackie Chan. So now you all should know who Jackie Chan is because he's very funny. And so these are just some questions. And again, a lot of these are on that checklist. They're probably too small to see. But these things are complicated. There's a lot that can go wrong. And they have a lot of power over your loved one when they're in there. So I got an example of this checklist. If you want to see it, go to caring.com, ask them for referrals. And if you come to us, you got to look at the slide, everybody. If you come to us, it's probably too late. You should have gone to a lawyer. This is one of those times where it really does pay. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, you all probably have, hopefully, a trusted family lawyer or somebody that you can get a referral to, a son or son-in-law. But if you don't, I've got a couple of contacts up there. The Ventura County Bar Association has a legal referral service, and for $35, you get 30 minutes. Now, I don't know if that's long enough for somebody to look through this, a 60-pager, but if, it's a 20-pager or a 10-pager, it might be enough for them to walk you through it and at least give you an idea of what this thing really is and what the potential future pitfalls are. The Gray Law reference I put in there last night because I had a deadline. I called them this morning. They said, we don't advise people about these. So Gray Law is a great organization. Take that number down, but don't call them to assist you with one of these contracts. So sorry about that. And for the folks at home, if you are looking at that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them at the end. Again, this is not an area where we see a prevalence of fraud, fortunately, in terms of these contracts or the way they're sold. But it's just really, really complicated. And I want you all to be forewarned and be prepared when you enter into them. Thanks.
Thank you both so much. I can't tell you how important this is. As an ombudsman and working on the city's Council on Aging, you see the cases that, as Mitch said, it's too late to get help, and you don't want to find yourself there. Find out everything you need for yourself or your loved ones before, and then your decision will be easier to make. Anyway, do we want to do commissioner comments now, Francine? Okay. All right. Now, since we'll switch, we're going to have commissioner comments. If any of the commissioners want to make a specific comment, we will have questions after the meeting's adjourned. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, it's not a comment, it's a question. Is that all right?
Yeah. Okay.
It's was wondering what the latest scam of the month is, or something that seniors really need to watch out for currently in our Thousand Oaks area or in Ventura County.
Okay, well, there's scams that we prosecute, and there's scams that we don't really get to prosecute. Is it Shentis? Made a presentation or spoke earlier about these phone calls, and they're so prevalent, and we get calls complaining about a phone call. My wife complained to me recently about receiving a phone call from a guy who said he was from the IRS and he was going to come and send a sheriff out. That he was going to send a sheriff out to arrest her if he didn't, send him some money. So those are just things to watch out for. I was listening and just going, thumbs up. This is really good information. We all need to be reminded of it. We all need to be vigilant. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I say that a million times. They're constantly changing shape, but it's either they're getting into your house through a phone call, through an email. The old days of somebody coming door to door to scam you are probably, it's too much trouble now. So just beware of folks coming in and asking for personal information of any kind unless you know or you initiated the call.
And we've recently had some situations with seniors who are in facilities, and they've been getting these credit card bills saying that they owe money on a credit card that they don't remember, but they'll start paying on it. So we've been dealing with that a bit lately. Somebody is just phishing. They're just sending out a bunch of credit card bills to seniors in facilities, and some of them will pay them. So.
Thank you all. Any other commissioner comments or questions since we're at the end? Wait till we adjourn the meeting, and then we'll have other questions from the floor. So if there's, pardon? Oh, no, I won't. If there is no other thing, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Again, remember, next week we're having on heart health, which is so important. But I so thank you guys for coming. This information is critical, and nobody knows. I'll talk to friends till I'm blue in the face, and they'll say, oh, that's never going to happen to me or my loved ones. We're going to stay healthy. Doesn't happen, unfortunately. One slip, one fall, one illness, and you have to make a decision quickly. Know what you're doing. And we have great resources in this community to help you, so take advantage of them. Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll have questions after we adjourn the meeting. The meeting of today will be adjourned. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Just wait 1 second until the TV goes off, and then we'll take questions.